Hello, welcome to Bored and Confused, where I review shows based on two criteria. One, was I bored? Two, was I confused? Today's show is Amahl and the Night Visitors. Now, I don't have a playbill because I forgot to bring one back with me. Also, this show just closed last weekend. I saw one of the final performances at Lincoln Center at the Mitzi Newhouse Theater, which is the off-Broadway, about 300-seat, very intimate, great theater. Amahl and the Night Visitors is a 45-minute chamber opera written for family audiences. It's so that kids can become more interested in the opera. The lead character of Amahl has to be played by a boy soprano, and it's a very intimate show, only 45 minutes, and it was written for television and premiered in 1951 as Hallmark Hall of Fame's first show that they presented. And I believe it was done live in black and white. And then over the years, it's been done on the BBC and other productions. There's a color recording that you can watch of the show. Now, I've heard about this opera for years and years, but I'd never seen it. Now, people like my mother, she knows it because she grew up with it. She listened to the score and has a lot of fond memories. So I was really excited to see this performance. And this isn't really going to be a review because the show's closed, but I really want to talk about the show because, let me just put it out there, I wasn't loving the narrative of this show. It feels very dated to me. It was written by Giancarlo Menotti. Like I said, back in the 1950s, he's from Italy, and in Italy, for the holidays, the three wise men bring the gifts as opposed to Santa Claus. I read a lot about what inspired this, and it's all very charming and very lovely. But going into this show as a blank slate, let me tell you what I perceived the story to be. So we're introduced to Amahl, who's this disabled child who walks with this little wooden crutch. His mother wants him to come in. He's looking at the stars. He sees a really bright new star, and he's telling his mom, and she's, you make up stories all the time. Come home, and everything repeats 3 times because this is written for kids. So there's a lot of repetition to this. But it starts out kind of in ballad land. Also, so you know, I've written quite a few shows for young audiences and have had success in this area. So it is something I'm aware of when a show starts out very slow with a ballad. I'm just always like, we're going to lose these kids. Now, maybe the attention span of children in 1951 is different than it is in 2026. I think it probably is. And interestingly, in the show, there were not a lot of kids. And it was a matinee. A lot of adults. I think this show is really appealing to people who remember seeing it as a child in the 1950s. So I'm watching the show. It's this poor woman, her poor disabled son. They have no food, they have no money. They're going to have to become beggars. They're in a tough situation. And that night, they hear a knock on the door, and she sends Amahl over to open it, and it's a king dressed in finery. He goes and tells his mom she doesn't believe. They do the back and forth 3 times because it's kids theater. These kings who are on the journey to go give these beautiful gold, frankincense, and myrrh, these gifts to this child that they've heard about. And they just are like, hey, we're rich kings, but we need a place to stay, so we're going to stay at your place. And the poor woman is, oh, of course, here, I just have a straw mattress, but you guys can have it. And they're like, it's cold in here. And she's like, oh, I'll go get some wood so that I can warm up my house for you. And she didn't have any food, so she sends her son, go tell the neighbors to bring some food over for these rich kings. Now, I did not like these kings. I thought they were very presumptuous to just walk into some peasant's home and say, hey lady, we're staying here tonight. You need to feed us and give us a bed and heat up this for us. And then their servant, or the squire, whatever this dude, he lays out a beautiful cloth and he lays all of the gifts that they're going to take to this kid. Just showing off in front of this peasant woman. And I didn't like these guys. And then all of these other peasants come and bring food and they do a dance. This is a huge cast of like 20 people. And again, I'm thinking of having written TYA shows, Theater for Young Audiences. I'm like, you write more than 4 or 5 characters, good luck in getting that produced. So great that we're at Lincoln Center. So we have this huge cast of 20 people singing opera. So what happens, a spoiler alert, if you don't know this story, which I didn't, the peasant woman who's going to have to become a beggar is contemplating stealing some of the gold. She's, look, my kid is suffering. Why should this little baby, I don't know who this baby is. So she steals some gold, and then she gets caught, and they're about ready to beat her. And then Amahl is, leave her alone. But anyhow, I was like, lady, take all of their gold. Go take it all. Take it all, throw it in a bag, and go get yourself a new house. It serves these jerks right. This is just the feeling I had, and it felt like their behavior is justified because of religion, because they're going to see Jesus Christ. We as an audience know that. Peasant woman doesn't know that. Amahl doesn't know that. It felt like this very 1950s mentality of, and not even 1950s, we see this now. Wealthy people taking from the poor, saying we should get more and more wealth, being greedy. I know they're taking gifts to the Christ child, but these guys are really wealthy, taking advantage of the poor, and then using religion as the excuse for doing it. Sound familiar? So I found the play very timely, but not in a way that I think the rest of the audience was experiencing it. They were experiencing it as nostalgia. Probably a lot of Christians maybe, although I'm sure a lot of Jewish people grew up with this as well and have fond memories of this story, even though it's a very Christian story. But, you know, it reminded me of when I was at Brigham Young University and I was in the dance department, and people would create these dance works, and they'd go, oh, this one's about the pioneers, or this is about Sarah, or this is about the disciples. And they would be lame dances, just bad. But the audience would love them because they are bringing their beliefs and their love of these characters, of this religion, of this folklore. And I would always be like, but it's not good. So, am I saying that Amahl and the Night Visitors is not good? I think it was amazing in 1951. But watching it now, I just felt like this is going to bore kids. The repetition is boring me as an adult. I feel like this is just for nostalgia. I don't like the story. I don't like these characters. And also, I was thinking, is this story ableist? Because Amahl is disabled. And the thing he wants more than anything else is to not be disabled. That's what he asks Casper when Casper is showing off all his rocks and all his shiny things. He's like, do you have one that can heal my infirmity? And this is coming out of Wicked, where there was a lot of conversation about changing Nessarose from wanting to be made whole and be able to walk. I shouldn't say be made whole, because the idea is that she is whole and that she doesn't need to walk to be made whole. So my question is this an issue with Amahl? You know, I'm not someone to fight other people's battles. I'm not that guy. I'm not going to say, I've got to stand up for people who use wheelchairs or crutches, because that's not my experience and that's not my battle to fight. I'm here to say, I understand what you're saying. I understood why they changed Nessarose. I'm okay, to be honest, with Amahl wanting to be made whole, because when a story, and this is true for Wicked as well, it's one thing to say a person who can't walk should accept that and live a full life when there is no chance of them being changed. They don't live in a world where their legs can magically be made functional. But in the world of the Bible, in these religious stories, and in Wicked, they live in a world where magic or religious magic can heal people. So the difference here, and I'm way off on a tangent, the difference here is, though, I feel Nessarose is in a place of privilege. So she is rich. Being in a wheelchair is not a huge inconvenience to her. She has money, she has people to take care of her. She can live a full and happy life. She doesn't, because she's obsessed with Bach. So I understand with a character like that, her really wanting to be able to walk seems ableist. But with Amahl, to me it makes sense. He's poor. If he cannot walk, he cannot work, and they will become beggars. So in that sense, I say, is it ableist for Amahl to really want to be able to walk? Because it means that he can then provide for his mother and that they won't have to be beggars. What do you think? Comment below, especially if you're someone who has a disability. Comment below on your thoughts on, is Amahl and the Night Visitors ableist? But anyhow, so the ableism paired with the entitlement of these rich kings, this show just felt like it didn't work for me in this modern times. And on top of that, how do you produce a show with 20 people and have it be kind of dull and repetitive, but performed amazingly? Let me tell you that. I mean, it's Lincoln Center. The voices were amazing. The show's already closed. The staging, I thought, I like things to make sense. Amahl opens the door for the kings. He opens it wide. The mother is lying center stage on this raised platform, which is supposed to be a bed of straw, but it's clearly not, because then they move the blankets and they get up and dance on it. So it's done in a very theatrical way where it's not really a bed, it's a platform. And the mom could have just looked over and seen who was at the door, but she just was like, no, I'm lying down. So 3 times Amahl opens the door wide. She could look over. He's saying it's a king. She doesn't look over. So just the staging of it it feels hokey and just, I don't know. It's like, I get that it's family audiences for kids, even though not many kids in the audience. Why can't it be staged more believably? Why does it have to be so like, there's a king at the door. Slam. Mom, there's a king at the door. I don't believe you. Go knocking again, because these rich dudes really want a place to stay. Okay, gosh, I have gone off on, this was a tangent. If you've lasted this long, let me know what you think of Amahl and the Night Visitors. I don't know. I think maybe we just relegate it to watching it on TV to feel nostalgia. I don't think I need to go see it performed live anymore. That's just me.
'Cause I don't wanna be bored.